Welcome to It's Game Time. Today we bring you a special episode. I'm going to teach you how to play Soaring Rhino's new game, Shifting Realms. In Shifting Realms, players enter a world where a secret brotherhood known as the Keepers have been maintaining order throughout the universes. Their primary goal is to guard the Pranok, the cornerstone of all dimensions. Over the centuries, 4 factions have developed among the Keepers. And as these factions were fighting for dominance in the Order, they lost sight of their primary task. The Pranok shattered, creating chaos throughout the dimensions. The players take on the role of one of these factions as they strive to bring order to the Shifting Realms. To set up the game, you first need to randomly choose which 3 of the 5 available realms you're going to play with. The realms are laid out in a random order, in a line. With 5 available realms and different configurations, there's about 60 different setups for the game. Place the puzzle fit scoring track on the left side of the realm boards. Each realm has 3 types of buildings that can be built in that realm. Make piles by type next to the matching realm board. Each realm also has a set of story cards. Place those on the opposite side of the matching realm board. Some realms have a special one-time setup. For example, in Dover, the Troll King has 6 tokens placed on it. Each realm has task cards. I'll explain what these do later, but during setup, randomly give each player 1 from each realm. Make 4 piles of the available resources during the game: magic, wood, stone, and gold. And then give 5 gold to each player to start the game. The players use their starting gold to pick one of the 4 factions available in the game. The highest bidder chooses first, and so on. If the player chooses Nero, they will go first for the whole game. If the player chooses Sarkans, they will go second, but they receive 1 gold to start the game. If the player chooses Biru, they will go third, but they receive 2 gold to start the game. And finally, if the player chooses Kest, they will get a resource of their choice and 1 gold to start the game. Once the factions are chosen, the player receives 10 soldiers and 16 scouts of the faction's color. The players then place 1 soldier and 1 scout on each of the 3 towns in the realms. Players each take a scout and place it on the 0 spot on the scoring track. The object of Shifting Realms is to have the most victory points when the game ends. There are various ways to get victory points throughout the game. On your turn, you will have 3 actions. One of the actions you may take on your turn is to build a structure. There are 3 structures for each realm. They have to be built in that realm. The structures are the main way that you get victory points in the game. The Elven Castle gives you 13 victory points when you build it. The Elven Wharf gives you 1, and the Elven Market gives you 3. The structures are built by having the available resources shown on the card over here. So for an Elven Castle, you need 7 wood, 1 gold, 1 stone, and 4 magic. You also need to be able to build on the space that's shown on the tile. This needs to be built on a forest. This needs to be built on a water's edge. This needs to be built on a grass space. Other than victory points, the structures also do other things. For example, the Elven Wharf will give you a wood and a stone every turn. The Elven Market will give you gold every turn. The Elven Market also has an ability. You may trade in 2 gold for 1 magic. When you build the Elven Market, you will have that ability for the rest of the game. To build a building, after you've paid the resources, you take the tile, flip it over to the built side, place it on the space, take a scout, place it in the marker area to show that it's yours, move your scout on the victory point track up the amount of victory points. And the buildings give you a lot of variability depending on what realms you're playing with. There's resource generation. A lot of them give you these special powers, so it can really affect how you play the game. Another action you can take on your turn is to recruit new units. For 1 gold, you can recruit any combination of 2 units. So you can get 2 scouts, 2 soldiers, or a scout and a soldier. These units will come in on the town. That's one possible place. They can also come in on a structure you've built. So over here we have a pirate ship. And they don't have to come in together. You can put one on the pirate ship, say, and one in the town. Another action you may take on your turn is to draw a story card. Each realm comes with a deck of 10 cards, and these do various things. Some give you victory points, some let you gain resources, others give you special abilities. There are two types of story cards. Permanents. These are placed face up in front of a player when played. This one's played at the end of the game and gives you 3 victory points. There are events. The events are played at different points. This one says now, so you would play it right away when you draw it. Playing a story card, by the way, is not an action. This one gives you 3 gold. This one says now or later, so you could play this one right away or put it face down in front of you and play it later on your turn or a future turn. This one says later. This one must be placed face down in front of you and cannot be played until your next turn. You may only take the draw a story card action twice. Another action you may take on your turn is a move action. Let me explain how movement works. A player may take a group of units and move them up to 3 spaces. So the red player could take this soldier and this scout and go 1, 2, 3, and put them on that mine. Now once a unit has been moved, they may not be moved again for that turn. So the red player could not move these units again, but could move these with a future action. Another thing you may not do on a move action is drop off units along the way. So red player could not say, oh, let's drop this scout there and finish our move with a soldier over there. You also don't have to move all the units from a space. So the red player could take these 2 units and put them over on the mine. Movement can also lead to a situation where you have fighting. So let me explain how that works. Over here we have the green player with 2 scouts in the quarry. The red player moves in with a soldier and a scout. These scouts are unprotected, so the red player's soldier takes out one of the scouts, goes back to the green player's supply. The other scout runs away to the town. And now the red player could put his scouts in position. You could also have a situation where a fight occurs where an opponent has a soldier. So let's look at this space with the blue player who has a soldier and 3 scouts in the forest. Red player moves in with 1 soldier and 1 scout. The soldier may only protect 2 scouts. So the red player's soldier removes this, goes back to the blue supply, and the red player can put their scout in that place. You could also have a situation where you want to remove a soldier. So that's how this works. Let's say the red player moves in with 2 soldiers from here and 2 scouts. Now, first the soldier fight happens. In order to defeat this soldier, the red player must sacrifice one of his own. That goes back to the red player's supply. The blue goes back to the blue player's supply. Now we have a situation where we have unprotected scouts. Again, the red soldier defeats 1. That goes back to the blue player's supply. These 2 flee back to the town, and the red player may put the 2 scouts in position. After you've taken your 3 actions for your turn, the last thing you do is collect your resources. Each resource space has up to 3 collection spots. Here, the red player has a scout in each one of the 3 spots. Therefore, the red player would collect 3 wood. Over here, there are 2 scouts in the mine spaces. That's 2 gold. Some of the buildings also give you resources. The red player has an elven market, which produces a gold, and an elven wharf, which produces a wood and a stone. The red player would then check the other 2 realms and collect all the resources. With the exception of taking story cards, you may use all 3 of your actions to do the same thing. You may recruit 3 sets of units. You may move 3 groups of units. You may build 3 structures. But you may only take 2 story cards per turn. Players continue taking turns until 2 out of the 3 ending objectives have been met. Each realm has its own ending objective. Here in Alfheim, the ending objective is when the 3 elven castles are built. So far, we have 2 that are built. The ending objectives are printed on the back of the story cards to remind the players what they are. So in this situation, if the green player decides to build the last elven castle, the ending objective for Alfheim has been met. But the game is not over. The game doesn't end until an ending objective in one of the other realms is met as well. Story cards can be still drawn for Alfheim, the buildings can still be built there, the game goes on. Now later in the game, if the red player decides to send his soldiers in to take the last Troll King token, that will end the game. Because the ending objective for Dovra is when all the Troll King tokens are taken. The game ends immediately. If the red player has more actions for that turn, they may not be taken. The red player does get to collect resources, though. All that's left now is to total up all the victory points and decide who won the game. Victory points accumulated during the game will be tallied on the scoring track, but there are ways players can earn victory points at the end of the game. One way you can get victory points at the end of the game is by fulfilling your tasks. Remember, during setup, each player was given a set of task cards, one from each realm. If the player is able to accomplish the tasks on these cards, they will get victory points. So for example, here, gain 3 victory points if you have 1 wood and 3 gold in your supply at the end of the game. So the player would place the gold and the wood on the card to signify they met that task, and they would get 3 victory points. Sometimes the tasks have to do with conditions on the board at the end of the game. So over here we have gain 3 victory points if you have 3 scouts in Alfheim that are not on the town space. So as long as you have 3 scouts there that aren't sitting on the town, that player will gain 3 victory points. Over here it's a kind of a combination. You gain 4 victory points if you have a troll token, so you've taken one of the troll tokens, and have 2 wood on your supply, so you place the wood there and to show that you've gotten that task. These cards enable a player to get between 9 and 12 victory points at the end of the game. Another way you can get victory points at the end of the game is through the story cards. Some of the realms have cards that say play at the end of the game, and they simply give you a number of victory points. So in Libertatia, the Pirate Lord gets you 3 victory points. As well in Alfheim, the Elf Lord gives you 3 victory points as well. So now these are added to a player's total. Finally, you will get 1 victory point for each set of 5 resources you have left in your supply. That is after you've placed those on the task cards to fulfill them. So in this case, you would get 2 victory points. After all the victory points have been tallied, the player with the most is the winner. And there you have it. Everything you need to know to start playing Shifting Realms.